All right, so Zach Gray here. My wife just went to feed the baby and hanging out with the George twins.
Yeah.
Booyah, booyah, Tyler and Jordan. We are doing a rock and roll photo shoot for their promo stuff. They're gonna have some incredible, ridiculously awesome YouTube videos coming out. Yeah, super cool stuff. Awesome shoot today, and check out the footage. It's gonna be fun. So we just got done doing our first setup. The way we did is we shot on this white cyc wall, which is real awesome, painted floor to ceiling. We just put two gridded Ellen Chrome 600 RXs, firing with there's no grids on them, there's just the reflector dishes, so they give a nice wide spread. And you notice we have them a real good distance away from the background. The reason that I have them a good distance is so when they come out, they'll spread out and wash out the whole background. So if I'm shooting 3/4, I don't want a vignette up here and then nice bright behind them and then it's dark down here. I want the whole thing white. The trick to metering that is the light bouncing off the background when it hits their backs just needs to be one stop below whatever my front light is. So if my front light is f11, my background hitting them, bouncing off the background and hitting their backs is going to be f8. Really, really simple way to do it. And then we have our main light, giant, this is actually a Chimera softbox. This is like a 5-foot octabank. And I have it off to the side and feathered just a little bit so we get a nice highlight and shadow on this side of the face. And then you notice there's also this white little reflector wall. It's just a piece of foam core. And that's just bouncing a little bit of light from this here, comes in, bounces, fills in the shadows, because if you just use one light and it's not gigantic, like even bigger than this, you'll still have some heavier shadows down on this side. And there's a green wall behind it, and if I just have this light up, we had some green light bouncing back into the shadows, it didn't look good. So we wanted to cover that up as well. You can also use a dark wall, and if you put a dark wall up there, you'll add contrast to this side of the face. If you put a white wall, you'll reduce contrast. And we want happy, bright, airy photos for the shoot of the George twins today. We don't want it overly contrasty, so that's why we went with that look. And I was going for candid fun. I'm also shooting at like f9, so we have plenty of depth, make sure everything's really sharp. Especially when I got two guys, I don't want one out of focus and one in focus, and that's what we're doing right now. All right, so we're doing a lot of shots on this background, but we're changing it all the time to make it look different. So we had the lighting very similar before, but we turned off our background lights, which made the background go sort of a grayish brown tone color because we weren't hitting it with direct light and blowing it out. So the white will turn gray if you don't hit it with direct light, which is a cool effect to do. And it's a little more subtle, not quite as high and bright. And now we're doing this cool shot because the George twins are literally identical twins. We wanted to have a shot where it was sort of a play on that fact that they look identical. So if you pull the camera around, we can actually see I have the two of them standing, one here and one kind of here, and I change up the lighting. I did a super hard feathering of the light. I used my Phototech soft lighter. Notice it's angled this way. That's my shooting position, is that from over there. So you're seeing this is the direction the camera's going to come in. The light comes out and I just catch the edge of this light, which means I'll have a sliver of light here and a really dark shadow here, or short lit. And then the other brother will be lit straight on, but because his face is angled this way, I'm going to see a deep shadow here. So you'll see in the final shot, it creates a very, very cool effect for the image. And we just have the one light on the shot, and now we're adding two background lights just for an added effect. So we're going to have some blue gel background lights, pump it in. There are going to be two stops underneath this main light for a really cool, like, flashy looking shot. So we are here doing one of the later setups in the day. We have this really cool, beautiful red couch with some really cool trim work. It looks great. Really adds a nice pop if we add orange lights. And we actually have, as you can see, some orange gels that are just Velcroed over the background lights. So we got background lights, 40-degree grids which focus the light in. And we have those coming in and intentionally streaking the wall slightly to add a nice texture to the wall. Highlight and shadow, and then they'll also hit the back of their heads and give us some beautiful definition, cut them out of the shot. You notice my main light here is actually, this is called tabletopping, so it looks like it's, you know, flat like this, which it is. Normally you wouldn't turn a light like this because it would hit them in the top of the head and create shadows under the eyes. But if you move it forward enough, you'll catch the edge of the light and it'll push in under their eyes. And then to fill in the bottom shadows, I've got this huge foam core, white foam core underneath, bouncing light back up. What this does is it allows me to keep the light from hitting the background, because if I tilt this forward like you normally would and shoot it at them, I'll have a bunch of white light back here and it won't look cool and moody and dramatic. And I want that moody, dramatic look, so that's why I tabletop the light or feathered it off, and I'm just shooting the top of this. The great thing about that too is it also lights their legs really well, so we got a nice even spread. Simple with the exposure. At f4.5 on my main light, my background lights are 1.5 underneath those. They're right now around 2.5 or somewhere in that range, because that allows them to be subtle, but also be obvious that they're there. And anytime you have your background lights on, you want them at least one stop under the main light, because when light bounces back into the camera, so it's coming from the background and bounces in, it looks like it's actually brighter than it is. So even if they're the same exposure, it'll look blown out. So if you go a stop or 1.5 under, it's going to look real subtle. And then for the lenses, I'm using my 24-70, 2.8. That's the second version, which I got from Lens Rentals. They are amazing. They let me rent that lens and use it for this shoot. So I can get a nice sort of wide look. I can capture all this stuff in the shot. And that's basically what we're doing for this setup. Check it out.
Tweak the hair.
I went to community college.